What's going on, everybody? Like we see Smooth Jimmy right there on the screen. See your Uncle Weezy, much smaller off to the side. That means it's time for another episode of Balls Deep Breakdown. I can't wait to get into this one. UFC Vegas 31. I am going to be breaking down the Billy Quarantillo versus Gabriel Benitez fight. Can't wait for this one. First, let's get some business out of the way. If you haven't seen it yet, last night, my man DFS by the Numbers and I went live on Pub Sports Radio to break down the entire UFC Vegas 31 card. It was called Stat Diggers. It's always called Stat Diggers. Check that out on Pub Sports Radio. We did that one last night, went balls deep into all 11 matchups on this card. Also, went live on DFS by the Numbers channel last night, and that video was posted this morning. We did a main event breakdown for UFC Vegas 31. We did the Makhachev-Moises fight. Went about 40 minutes into detail for that one. So check that out on DFS by the Numbers channel. And now it's time to get some content on my channel. We're going to be breaking down Billy Quarantillo versus Gabriel Benitez. I've got my matchup template here for you guys to check out. As always, this matchup template, the link is in the description of this video. Feel free to download it. Use it to help make your gambling decisions. Let's see what we got going on here. We got my man DFS by the Numbers in the chat. What is up, Brady? Thanks for hanging out with us. We got my man Robbie in here as well. Balls deep is how we do it on Uncle Weezy's channel. So let's get balls deep into these numbers. And then, man, one of my biggest supporters out here, my man Dan Goldstein. Here we go. Uncle Weezy keeping me on the righteous path and off OnlyFans. Dude, some of us did get rinsed last weekend, but that's all right. You know what we do? We get right back on the horse. We get right back out there. We make money back. And we do that by working hard. We do that by breaking down all the aspects of the fight. It helps us make good decisions, and it helps us make money. So let's do that right now. Let's get into the tail of the tape right here. This is going to be a great fight. And something that I saw right off the bat was kind of surprising. Billy Quarantillo's got that baby face, so I just thought he'd be younger than Benitez, but only 1 year younger. And another thing, too, is Benitez looks kind of tall to me, but evidently Quarantillo is the taller guy here. He is listed at 5'10". Benitez listed at 5'8". Benitez will have a 1-inch reach advantage. This is a southpaw versus orthodox matchup. So on this one, we are going to see that absolutely destructive left body kick of Gabriel Benitez. It is going to be open for business to the body of Quarantillo, who is an orthodox fighter. Man, when Benitez has range, he throws that left hand and he throws that left kick to the inside of the leg, to the body, and to the head. And he is very, very good with those weapons. So Quarantillo is going to have to be very careful of that left kick of Benitez. It is dynamite. Fight Camp, Tampa South, the Gracies for Quarantillo, and then we got AKA, American Kickboxing Academy for Gabriel Benitez. So he's training with Cormier and Nurmagomedov, who are both retired now, but he's got guys like Makhachev over there and a bunch of killers over there at AKA. And then, Gabriel Benitez fighting out of Tijuana, Mexico. And we got Quarantillo originally from Buffalo, New York, fighting out of Southern Florida now. So let's get into the pro and UFC experience for these two guys here. These experience numbers are pretty similar, but we do see that Benitez has the advantage with this. We've got 30 professional fights for Gabriel Benitez to 18 for Quarantillo, 22-8 record for Gabriel Benitez, a 15-3 record for Quarantillo. We see that Gabriel Benitez, even though he's got 12 more fights, he's only got about 40 more minutes of cage time than Quarantillo. Gabriel Benitez, a little bit lower average fight time. He's getting out of the cage a little bit quicker than Quarantillo is at 7.23 minutes, comparison to 9.5 for Billy. And we see that Gabriel Benitez has been at this for about 5 years longer than Billy Quarantillo has. So as a 33-year-old man, Gabriel Benitez, with an almost 14-year career, has been fighting since he was about 19 years old. And for Billy Quarantillo, it's about he started as a professional mixed martial artist around the age of 24. And if we look at the UFC experience here, we see that Gabriel Benitez has twice as many fights as Quarantillo does. Benitez is 6-4, while Quarantillo's 4-1, and a lot more cage time for Gabriel Benitez. He's got 40 more minutes of cage time in his total career, and we see that it's almost that much here for the UFC as well, as he's got about 31 more minutes of cage time than Quarantillo. Average fight time about 9 minutes for Benitez in the UFC and about almost 12 for Quarantillo. So if we see how these guys are winning and losing fights here, well, let's get into the finish stats. Gabriel Benitez, a pretty effective finisher here. He has got 22 professional wins, 45% of them by submission, and we got 36% by knockout, so that is an 81% finish rate for Gabriel Benitez. While for Quarantillo, it's 40% by knockout, 33% by sub, for a 73% finish rate. So both of these guys pretty good finishers for the featherweight division. And if we look at what they're doing in the UFC, Billy Quarantillo has finished 3 out of his 4 UFC wins. Very impressive. 2 by knockout, 1 by submission. And he's also got a win by decision. And then Gabriel Benitez, in his 6 wins, has finished 2 by submission, 2 by knockout, and 2 by decision. So he is an equal opportunity winner. If we see how these guys lose fights, overall, we've got 8 losses for Gabriel Benitez. 2 of them have been by submission, 2 of them by knockout, 4 of them have been by decision. And for Quarantillo, only 3 professional losses, 1 of them by knockout, the other 2 by decision. So let's get into the striking numbers here, because these are some very important numbers to check out, because this is kind of going to tell the tale of what happens in this fight. If we look at the volume and the strikes landed here, we see that Billy Quarantillo is landing a crazy 7.03 significant strikes per minute out of 10.9 offered. That is a 64.43% striking accuracy. Very impressive. While for Benitez, Quarantillo is a guy who's known for his volume, but if we notice here that Benitez actually throws more significant strikes per minute than Quarantillo does at 11.36. He's just much less accurate at 4.38 strikes landed. So, we're talking about a 38.58% striking accuracy compared to, 64.43. So we're talking about 26% better striking accuracy for Billy Quarantillo here. That is a significant margin there. In terms of power, Gabriel Benitez showing some pretty good power for a featherweight here at 0.51 knockdowns per 15 minutes. That is landing a knockdown on 0.77% of his significant strikes landed, while for Quarantillo, it's 0.24% of his significant strikes landed. He's getting about 2.26 knockdowns per 15 minutes. So Gabriel Benitez definitely showing more power with his striking than Quarantillo is. Now let's get into the defensive numbers here. Billy Quarantillo is landing 7.03 significant strikes per minute and only absorbing 4.37. So that is a very impressive ratio and significant strike difference. Over 2 significant strike difference, almost 3, and a ratio that's damn close to 2-1. While for Benitez is also absorbing less than he's landing. He lands 4.38, only absorbs 3.26. So over a 1 significant strike difference and a pretty good ratio as well. His fights have been very high volume, as have Quarantillo's. Even Benitez's fights have been even higher volume, actually, as his fights are averaging over 22 significant strikes thrown by both parties, per minute. That is a crazy pace. Now, while Quarantillo is the much more accurate striker, we will see that Gabriel Benitez is the striker that's way more defensively sound here. We saw about a 26% difference in the accuracy of these two gentlemen. Well, we see about a 28% difference here in their striking defense. So Billy Quarantillo he's blocking punches with his face, and that is not a good thing to be doing against the guy who throws with as much power as Gabriel Benitez. 42% striking defense, not good. Quarantillo is very, very hittable. We do see that 70% striking defense for Benitez. So definitely Benitez way more defensively sound. He does move very well on the outside and can throw a lot of strikes moving backward. And that's going to be very important in this matchup because we do see Billy Quarantillo drowning his opponents with pressure. If we look at how chinny these guys are, Billy Quarantillo has absorbed 257 significant strikes in the UFC and has never been knocked down. And if you watch tape on the guy too, he's obviously a very tough guy. He's hittable, but he can take one to give one. Now, if we look here at Gabriel Benitez, that 70% striking defense, we do see that he has been knocked down a few times in the UFC. 290 significant strikes absorbed. He's been knocked down about 0.7% of those significant strikes that he has absorbed. So that means he's been knocked down twice. But that's not bad at all. Twice in 10 fights is not a lot. We've got 0.34 knockdowns being absorbed per 15 minutes for Benitez. So just to sum up the striking, Billy Quarantillo, much more accurate when he throws. Gabriel Benitez, much better defensively. So it's going to be a kind of like a war on is Quarantillo's offense going to be better than Benitez's defense? Because Quarantillo's defense is not good. So he's going to definitely need to pressure Benitez, because if he just stands in front of Benitez here, he is going to get pieced up, because Gabriel Benitez, he actually kicks like a mule. And if he lands a couple of those left legs to your body, you're not going to be long for the fight. And for a guy like Quarantillo, who really counts on his conditioning, he can't be taking too many of those body kicks. And if he doesn't want to take those body kicks, he is absolutely going to have to really pressure Gabriel Benitez nonstop. Make him stay on his bike, keep him on his heels, and not let him get his feet planted and really sit down on his punches and kicks, because he will be in trouble if that happens. Let's see what we got right here. Dan Goldstein telling me something. Me listening intently so that I can make an educated, smart bet. Also me. If Uncle Weezy's dog barks once, I'm on Billy Q. Well, we're going to have to wait and see what Bootsy has to say about this one. He's been pretty quiet thus far, so we're going to have to keep an ear out for him, because he usually barks once every few minutes anyway, so we're just going to have to see if we hear from him. But we're not hearing from him right now, so that means we got to move on to the grappling stats here. So there's some, I watched quite a bit of tape on both of these guys. These grappling stats are interesting. I want to get into them now. So get it right here in the center of the screen. We see that Billy Quarantillo, in his 5 fights, has attempted 16 takedowns. He's gotten 5 of them for a 31.25% takedown percentage. I would say that he's not great at getting takedowns. The takedowns that I have seen him get have been against very tired opponents. While for Benitez, Gabriel Benitez has 10 UFC fights. He has only attempted a total of 2 takedowns, getting 1. So, he's only attempting 0.2 takedowns per fight. So it's pretty safe to say that Billy Quarantillo doesn't have to worry about getting taken down by Gabriel Benitez. Gabriel Benitez is definitely the type of fighter that is way more comfortable on his feet. And even though he has quite a bit of submissions on his record, and he definitely has finished more fights over his career by submission than he has by knockout, he would still prefer to knock out his opponents, as he clearly, to me, appears to be most comfortable when he's striking at range. So Billy Quarantillo is getting some takedowns, 1.28 per 15 minutes. He's attempting 1.8 submission attempts per 15 minutes, so he's pretty active trying to get submissions, while Gabriel Benitez is also pretty active with submissions, attempting 1.18 per 15 minutes, and he does have a couple of wins by submission in the UFC. If you look at the control time numbers, we can see that Gabriel Benitez, not only doesn't try takedowns, and because of that, he's not getting control time. He only controls his opponents less than 4% of his cage time, while his opponents are controlling him 20% of the time. So, that is one path to victory here against Benitez. If you don't want to stand in front of him, and if you don't want to strike with him, maybe put his back up against the cage, maybe try to take him down and control him, so that much less of the time is spent on the feet where he's the most dangerous. Billy Quarantillo has had very, very poor takedown defense thus far in the UFC. He has had 28 takedowns attempted against him in 5 fights. He has had 12 of them completed. That means he's only successfully defended 16 out of 28 for a 57% takedown defense. He gets taken down an average of 3.06 times per 15 minutes. So that's a lot. However, that tends to be Billy Quarantillo's biggest hole besides his striking defense is his grappling defense. And we've got a unique situation here where it doesn't look like his grappling defense is going to be tested because Gabriel Benitez doesn't attempt takedowns. So this is actually kind of good for Billy because it's actually plugging one of his biggest defensive holes. We've definitely got to worry about this guy getting taken down, getting controlled. He's got shitty takedown defense. But since Gabriel Benitez isn't trying takedowns, this is a good thing for Quarantillo. He's going to probably be able to keep the feet on the fight or keep the fight on the feet and continue to pressure Benitez, which is where Quarantillo is at his best. Quarantillo is controlling his opponents twice as much as he's being controlled. And he's got 35% of his UFC time is in control time positions, while about 19% of it is being controlled. And Benitez is being out-controlled almost 6-1 here at 3.74% for and 20% against. So Gabriel Benitez's takedown defense also not very good here at 56.1%. But if you watch the tape, he gets up quickly. He is very hard to take down and hold down. Enrique Barzola took him down a ton of times, but he got back up after all of them. Both of these guys get taken down a lot, but the only person that we have to really worry about being taken down here is Benitez because Quarantillo is the guy who actually does go for takedowns. Benitez doesn't. Got my guy, Billy Brisbane, one of my favorite Pub Sports Radio personalities. He does shows every once in a while with my guy Brady breaking down DraftKings content on Pub Sports. What's up, Billy? Thanks for coming out to hang out with us here and break down this fight. One of my guys there, man. It's good to have you with us here, bro. So now we got to go to the strength of schedule. This is going to be very interesting here because this is something that kind of actually shocked me a little bit when I was doing the research for this fight. So my strength of schedule metric is a ratio that computes a fighter's opponent's records, the ratio of wins to losses. So Billy Quarantillo's average opponent has a less than 1 win to loss ratio at 0.86, while the average opponent for Gabriel Benitez has a 1.1 win to loss ratio. So the average record of a fighter that Quarantillo is fighting in the UFC is 1.2 wins and 1.4 losses. So not only is he fighting guys that have losing records, but he's also fighting very inexperienced fighters. While for Benitez, he's also fighting fighters that are right around 500, but they're also a little more experienced at 3.2 wins and 2.9 losses, 6.1 total fights. So while Gabriel Benitez is fighting the better brand of competition, neither one of these guys is definitely fighting the cream of the crop here of the featherweight division, and they're certainly not beating the cream of the crop because when you look at both of these guys' wins, I'm not seeing anything impressive here. We got an average record of 0.75 wins and 1.25 losses is the guy that Billy Quarantillo is beating in the UFC. He's got 3 wins. So 3 unimpressive wins, an average of 2 total fights and a 0.6 ratio, well under 1. While for Benitez, it's not much better. The average record of the guy that Benitez is beating has 2 wins and 2.83 losses, 4.83 fights, 0.71 ratio. So neither one of these guys is beating all that impressive of competition. Excuse me, guys. And then we look at the losses here. The average record of the guy that's beating Quarantillo is 3 wins, 2 losses. The average record of the guy that's beating Benitez is 5 wins and 3 losses. So Gabriel Benitez is losing to the better competition, the more experienced competition, and the competition that has a better win-loss record. If we look at the last 5 here for Benitez, a win by knockout over Justin James, a loss by unanimous decision over Omar Morales. He got knocked out by Sadiq Youssef in the first round by a beautiful counter. Humberto Bandone, he knocked him out with a slam, and he got a win via unanimous decision over Jason Knight. While Billy Quarantillo got a win on the Contender Series over Camuela Kirk, he absolutely beat him to pieces just put it on him with volume, especially in the second round. He absolutely destroyed Jacob Kilburn, win by unanimous decision over Spike Carlisle. He knocked out Kyle Nelson, and then he lost the unanimous decision to Gavin Tucker. So let's take a look here at the advanced stats, which I have up on the screen right now. These advanced stats are available on DFS by the Numbers Patreon. He charges $10 a month for that. It's probably the best decision that you can make if you're doing DFS regularly, because the amount of information that he has on his Patreon, including my advanced stats, is more than you're going to get anywhere else for the money. So I have got some fights highlighted here of Mr. Benitez. And I highlighted the fights where he was taken down. He was taken down by Jason Knight, Enrique Barzola, Philly, Collard, and Brown. And we see that when he gets taken down, he's actually got 3 wins and 2 losses. So even if you take him down, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to beat Benitez. And then we look at the fights that aren't highlighted. These are the fights where he wasn't taken down, also 3 wins and 2 losses. So whether you successfully grapple against Benitez isn't necessarily a function of whether you're going to win or not. You need to win on the feet against this guy. So yeah, he's got a 6-4 record. If we unhighlight this, we can just see the win's really not that impressive. He's got a win over Humberto Brown here, and I mean, he beat the shit out of Humberto Brown. And that's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot in MMA, but he literally beat the shit out of Humberto Brown. He made Humberto Brown shit his pants in there. That's how bad that beating was, and that was our introduction to Mr. Gabriel Benitez. Then he beats a 1-3 Clay Collard. The next win is over 5-7 Sam Sicilia. The next win is over 4-5 Jason Knight. The next win is over 1-3 Humberto Bandone, and the next win is over a 1-4 Justin James. So what does that tell us? It tells us that in his 6 UFC wins, he has never once beaten a guy with a winning record. So that's not great. That's not great. But then if we look on the loss side, we also see, 4-1 Omar Morales, and he lost that one by decision. He got knocked out in the first round by Sadiq Youssef, who's 5-1. He lost to a 6-3 Enrique Barzola via unanimous decision, and he lost via first-round knockout to Andre Philly. He got kicked in the head on that one. Nothing you can do about that. But he's only losing to really good opponents. So, we definitely got, kind of like there's a middle ground, which we don't really know how Benitez is going to how he's going to perform it against an opponent like, let's say, it's got like a 3-2 record, just a slightly winning record, or a 500 record with some experience. The guys who have beaten him either knocked him out in the first round, like Andre Philly and Sadiq Youssef, or if we look at the Enrique Barzola fight here, this is one way you can beat him. Enrique Barzola from Peru trains at altitude, and he just put a pace on him the entire time. If we look at this fight, we'll see that Benitez offered 151 strikes and landed 51, and Barzola matched that output by offering 148 strikes, landing 46, but he took him down 9 times out of 15 attempts. So Barzola was marching forward the entire time. He was always threatening with takedowns and his wrestling. He was ground and pounding a little bit. Benitez kept getting right back up, but Barzola just put a pace on him that Benitez couldn't keep up with. So, and then Morales, it was just kind of like a range kickboxing match. But, still, we see a ton of volume here, 179 strikes offered by Benitez and 215 by Morales. So this was another case of him losing because he got out-volumed and out-pressured by his opponent. So the way that to beat Gabriel Benitez that's a recipe that Billy Quarantillo definitely has in his arsenal. That's his best weapons, Quarantillo, is pace, pressure, and volume. I mean, if you look here at Billy Quarantillo's offensive numbers, this is the total strikes number. He's never landed less than 100 total strikes in a fight. And he's never, 84 significant strikes, 79, 49, 74 in a 2-round fight, and then 127 at the beginning of the 3rd round. He knocked out Kamwela Kirk. That was basically only a 2-round fight. It only went 22 seconds into the 3rd round. So there is a path to victory here for Billy Quarantillo. It's constant pressure. It's constant volume. It's mixing in takedown attempts. And it's not standing in front of Gabriel Benitez. It's not giving Gabriel Benitez any time to breathe. And it's staying in his face so that he's not getting that left leg, that dynamite left kick that Benitez throws. He cannot be too far away from Benitez where that kick's going to land. So I think the pressure is going to be the game plan here for Quarantillo. However, if you watch tape on Benitez, he's been pressured in a lot of fights, and he does deal with it pretty well. He can fight off his back foot. He does have good movement. He does have good conditioning. But that brings us to his most recent fight for Benitez. Was supposed to be a fight against Jonathan Pierce. But Benitez did not make weight. I think he missed weight by 3.5 or 4.5 pounds, and he was one of the first people to weigh in. So he didn't try to kill himself to make the weight. As a result of not making weight and missing weight by that much, Jonathan Pierce actually flat out refused to take 30% of his purse, and he just refused to fight. So one thing that we're going to really have to talk about here is, when do we bet this fight? Whether we like Benitez or whether we like Quarantillo, what are we looking for in a bet here? And in my opinion, we have to wait for the weigh-in on this one, because the weigh-in is going to be crucial. We don't know how Gabriel Benitez is going to look on the scale. Is he going to have a tough weight cut? He is a very big 145er, and he's had trouble making weight in the past. And if he has trouble making weight in this fight, and he's fighting a volume monster in Quarantillo, a pressure monster, a guy who has incredible conditioning, that is a very bad combination of events there for Benitez. So I am going to wait on this one to make a decision until how I see Gabriel Benitez looking on that scale. If he doesn't look good, if it looks like he killed himself to try and make weight, I'm going to probably get on Billy Q. But if Gabriel Benitez makes weight with no issue and looks good on the scale, I think I might be leaning Benitez here, because he has the power. He does fight well off his back foot, and I think he's going to land the more impressive strikes and the harder strikes. And I think he's got a much better chance to get an early knockout than Quarantillo does. But let's see what you guys are talking about here in the chat, because I've been running my mouth here. My man DFS by the numbers here. Out of the current UFC fighters, Benitez has the 3rd best striking defense in the UFC, behind Cruz and Haqparast. And my God, Cruz and Haqparast aren't even in his division. So, that's amazing to be in the top 3 in the entire UFC in striking defense. And we talked about that striking defense. That is going to be a very difficult puzzle for Quarantillo to solve. But I think we know how Quarantillo is going to try and solve it. And that's just with forward pressure and volume. Hey, if you throw 300 strikes, even if you only get 20 of them through, you still landed 60. So I think that's how he's going to try to fix that. But boy, you are right, Brady. I mean, when you have that kind of a striking defense over a 10-fight sample size, that is going to be a very difficult puzzle for Billy Q to figure out. And then Dan Goldstein saying the same thing, and I think he even beat me to the punch here. And that's a factor in this fight, might be how rough the weight cut is for Benitez. And yeah, absolutely, I'm right there with you. We just covered that for sure. Benitez, if he looks bad on the scales, that's going to be a bad recipe for somebody who brings as much conditioning and pace as Billy Quarantillo does. This very well could be a fight of the night war. And I mean, God, absolutely, I agree. I mean, there's going to be a lot of ass shavings on this card. I see a lot of lopsided fights, a lot of killers who've got some matchups that are probably a little bit easier than they deserve. So I'm seeing some ass shavings, but this is one that looks like it's going to be a banger. And both of these guys bring volume. Both of these guys are exciting. Benitez hits exceptionally hard and kicks like a mule. This is going to be such a good fight. So I agree with you, Brady, 100%, man. Fight of the night right there. And then I'm looking for Benitez to look like a Vietnam POW at the weigh-ins too. Yeah, man. He kills himself to make weight, dude. He's very big. He's very long, and he's got a lot of muscle on his frame. So, yeah, man, this is going to be a difficult weight cut for him. And I think that I'm going to be waiting to pull the trigger on this one until I see how both of these guys look on the scale. And then my man PayPal in the chat, what's good? At Dan Goldstein laughing. And I am always laughing at Dan's comments. He's funny as hell. I appreciate all you guys hanging out with me here today. I think I'm going to cut it off right there. We went balls deep into this fight for 30 minutes. As far as the pick goes, I am waiting to make a pick, but I hope all these numbers that we saw on the screen here, kind of helped you guys get an idea for which way you're leaning in this fight. I'm kind of leaning Benitez at this point, but I will not be afraid to bail on that Benitez pick if he does not look good on the scales, because I think Benitez, like I say, he does fight well moving backward. Being pressured by his opponent is not going to be anything new to him, and he's got some really dynamic strikes with that left hand and that left leg, and they are going to be open for business because this is the traditional southpaw versus orthodox fight here. And then Grateful Dude stepping in here to say what's up. What's up, Grateful Dude? Thanks for going deep with the stats. I appreciate the content. I appreciate all you guys hanging out with your Uncle Weezy here. I wanted to get this done before Clint went live on Pub Sports Radio to do the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm going to go take Bootsy for a walk. Geez, he didn't bark once during this, man. Maybe Benitez will get it done. So thanks, you guys, for hanging out. Dan says, thanks, Uncle Weezy. I'd sacrifice my 3 least favorite cousins for one Uncle Weezy and a side of Brady. Appreciate the grind, brother. I appreciate you grinding it out with us, man. We're trying to do our best to provide the best content that we can as early as possible for you guys. And I appreciate all you guys hanging out with me. If you found this helpful, please leave a like. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. Check me out on Twitter at MMA Weezy. And you can check me out right here on Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel at least 3 times a week for balls deep breakdowns where we go balls deep into the stats. God bless all of you. I will catch you next time on Balls Deep Breakdown. Enjoy your Monday night, everybody.